All right, last story for the day. We've got Liberals push bill giving Ottawa power to cut off your internet without a warrant. Bill C-8 would give the federal government unprecedented control over Canadians' internet access. Hidden within the legislation is a clause empowering Industry Minister Melanie Joly to order telecom providers like Rogers or TELUS to cut off internet access for, quote, any specified person, without a warrant, court approval, or preemptive oversight. The government claims the measure is needed to combat cyber attacks and foreign interference, but its vague wording grants sweeping powers that could enable censorship, surveillance, and data seizure. This follows a pattern of digital control through the Online News Act and Online Streaming Act, which already restricted online speech and content visibility. Despite Canada's stated commitment to internet freedom as a human right, Bill C-8 represents a major step toward government-managed access to information. By centralizing power in the hands of ministers, the bill threatens privacy, expression, and the very foundation of digital liberty in Canada. So, how do the Online News Act and Streaming Acts tie into this larger trend for internet censorship?
There's a few other bills that actually bring into this conversation as well. So Bill C-8 really, it gives them the opportunity to cut you off the internet, cut you off of mobile, cut you off of data, basically cut you away from the world. The reason that's obviously significant is they've created language in the bill that make it easy to do it for pretty much any reason. They could even do it by mistake. And it's Melanie Joly, one individual, which is wild to me, that has the power to do so. So if you look at how this works, is they can cut you off from the internet. Now, when you look at the Online News Act, this one is basically like, well, these big organizations have to pay news companies to create more liberal propaganda. That's essentially what it is. If they don't, they'll just cut off the news, which is kind of what's happened with Meta in Canada. And then the Online Streaming Act really allows the CRTC to dictate what content is being shown. I look at this more as a soft form of censorship where you have to prioritize Canadian content. And people go, why is that soft censorship? Well, because there's only so much content you can see. And if they're replacing half of it with what they want you to see, well, now they're filling their pipeline of propaganda once again. So again, it is sort of this soft censorship. But more importantly, what I would look at is Bill C-9, which was just tabled a week ago. Now, Bill C-9 and Bill C-63, both of them, they're very important. One is online, one is offline. So Bill C-63 is an online harms bill, or the online hate speech bill. What it's doing is it's defining the word hate and giving the authorities the power to deplatform you, cut you off, get you canceled off these platforms, and throw you in jail for writing anything hateful online. It's a subjective term that they get to decide. Very, very dangerous space there, right? So you look at, okay, Bill C-63 and Bill C-8 together, the internet bill, you said something we don't like against one of the groups we decide we're going to protect, or you just don't support the government, then, okay, we're going to cut you off from the internet. So now we've got this power. What's interesting is if you use just Bill C-63, you kind of need the social media companies to comply, to cut me off from the internet, right? Because they could say, well, what he said wasn't bad. You guys might not agree with him, but it's not bad. We're not going to cut him off. Okay, then we'll use Bill C-8 and cut him off from the internet. Great. Now, Bill C-9, which just came out, is like Bill C-63, but it's in person. So it's in the real world. So they're redefining the word hatred. It's become a very subjective term again, where they can decide what it means. And they're giving people beyond the Attorney General, which was sort of our check and balance here, the power to decide what is hate. So police officers, prosecutors, judges, anybody else, right? So the reason this is dangerous is, again, they get to decide if what you say, like, remember the guy that said, I love bacon, or we love bacon in the UK? Well, that was hate speech because he said it to a bunch of Muslims. You kind of go, what the fuck is going on here? So now you look at all this stuff, and now you realize that Canada's turning into the UK. That's exactly what's happening. We're going to be throwing 15,000 people a year in jail, or charging 15,000 people a year with online harms crimes. We're going to be doing the same thing offline. And if they step out of line, we can cut them offline using Bill C-8. So then you add in, like you said, the Online News Act, the Online Streaming Act. This is just one major apparatus for surveillance, censorship, and control over society.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when you take this into its totality as to whether it be the online stuff for hate speech, so that's criminalizing certain types of speech that they deem hate, which is always just language they hate. It's not actually hateful language. And then you've got the News Act, which is restricting your access to alternative information. You've got the Streaming Act and all of this, which, pushes
Similar things.
first. Well, it's you look at this in its entirety, you go, okay, they're not allowing you to say certain things that are or dissent. They're not allowing you to say anything. They're not allowing you to gain information that could change your mind. And they're also prioritizing the content they want so that they're drowning out again on top. It's like an extra layer on top of that where they go, it'd be like the equivalent of actually like just bullhorning noise into somebody so that they can't hear anything outside of their like immediate surroundings. And then, but this goes to why I say and tell people, like, we're not headed towards dictatorship. We are already in the budding stages of a totalitarian nation, because that is what totalitarianism is the complete control of perception itself. It's not just, hey, we're going to loot you and stay out of our way, like kind of that classic C.S. Lewis robber baron quote where he says it'd be better to be tyrannized by robber barons than by moral busybodies.
Yeah.
Because the robber baron's greed and evil can be satiated. But when they say we're doing this for your own good, like, no, now it's not just stay out of my way. It's I'm going to control you. I'm going to control exactly how you think. And this is what even Orwell was getting to at the end of 1984. This is like the big monologue that O'Brien gives to Winston when he has him in the torture chamber, essentially. He goes, the party seeks power entirely for its own sake. We are not interested in the good of others. We are interested solely in power, not wealth or luxury or life or happiness, only power, pure power. What pure power means you will understand presently. We are different from all the oligarchies of the past in that we know what we are doing. All the others, even those who resembled ourselves, were cowards and hypocrites. The German Nazis and the Russian communists came very close in our methods, but they never had the courage to recognize their own motives. They pretended, perhaps they even believed, that they had seized power unwillingly and for a limited time, and that just around the corner there lay a paradise where human beings would be free and equal. We are not like that. We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. Power is not a means, it is an end. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. And so, like, what he's saying there is that, this is the entire purpose of it. We're not controlling speech because we want to get rid of hate in the world. You're controlling speech to control speech. You just want that control. And in that same monologue, he says, I tell you, Winston, that reality is not external. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Not in the individual mind, which can make mistakes and in any case soon perishes, only in the mind of the party, which is collective and immortal. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth. It is impossible to see reality except by looking through the eyes of the party. And this is when he puts him down and says, like, how many fingers am I holding up? And he's like clearly holding 4, and Winston goes 4, and he goes, no, it's 5 because I tell you it's 5. And that's the end goal, is like, I need you to reject objective reality, reject everything around you. Truth is what we declare it to be. That's what they're doing here.
That's where we're headed. It's just kind of dark. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you can look at these bills and you can, if you want to try to, maybe support the liberal cause and what they're doing, then you have to explain to me why they're so broad and not specific. You have to explain to me why these tools allow them such broad capability to suppress any kind of speech and any kind of dissent. And then you have to explain to me how it's happening in the UK. Then you have to explain to me how what we were saying is already happening in the UK and justify this. You have to be able to sort of like, so this already exists. That's the thing. I think a lot of times you see this stuff and you go, well, you guys are being over the top, or this only happens in nations that are truly tyrannical or are truly, dictate a dictatorship. It's like, okay, but it is happening in the United Kingdom. It is happening there. And, there was this election in the States that everyone was kind of like, hey, not everyone, but a lot of people that saw the world the way we do go, if Trump doesn't win, I think they're going to really go down the wrong path down there. It was sort of this moment, this kind of fork in the road for the United States. And they took Trump and they kind of avoided going down the same path. but the UK didn't. The UK had a conservative government that was acting like a bunch of liberals, then they voted in the Labour Party, which is basically a bunch of socialists. So now they're going further and further down that line. This is what happens. So we're seeing it. So Canada, we're at this position right now where, personally, I think it's a little too late. I don't want to, that's my own feeling. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's some way to redeem this, but we're going down this path right now where we either correct course or we become the UK. And Bill C-8, Bill C-9, Bill C-63, Online News Act, Online Streaming Act, that gives them the power to turn us into the UK.
Well, when people talk about we need to fight back, and some people are definitely at the point where they want that to happen in a physical, you see, whether it be leftists or people on the right, you see people all across society calling for revolution and like armed upheaval. To me, that's not even a real battle, in the sense where the real battle is for consciousness. That's what I'm describing here. And so, when people say, oh, well, we're just sitting around talking about it. Well, when you stop talking about it, when you stop having these ideas, when you just sit down and shut up, that's them winning the battle. And so that's the deepest part of the battle. And that's the whole aim that they have. And so, I think that at this point, look, even if you can't change the external circumstances that we're facing as a nation, or whether it's you live in the UK or any of these nations that are going through something similar, it's like at the very least you can maintain your dignity as a human and say, no, you don't think for me. No. And at that point, maybe I can't even change the way that the world is going, but I can sit there and just maintain my sense of self, and that is worth something.
It's very Nietzsche of you. Yes, I totally agree though. It is. And I just think there are options too. When you have this information, there are options. And now people are like, how do we get up and fight? Sometimes you lose battles to win wars, right? And there are a lot of ways that could shake out. For some people, maybe it means, just speaking with their friend group and trying to influence the close network they have around them, so they've got a strong support system, and you guys see the world the same way, and you operate in sort of a, hate to say this, but a space that is a little more safe for you and for us, so you can share these ideas. Maybe that's what you can do. Other people can pack up and leave this country. There are options, but you kind of have to know what's coming down the pipeline. Otherwise, you don't know you need to make a move. That's what I think a big thing is here too. There are a lot of ways for this to shake out. I don't really think violent revolution is going to do anything anyway.
No.
So I don't really advocate for that by any means, but I do think having this information can give you some options to make a move. I mean, the thing you can do too is you can go petition with your senators. I think that that's kind of the last line of defense for a lot of these things, because the liberals pretty much have a stronghold on government, but not necessarily the Senate. They pretty much do with the Senate as well, but those are the people you can go petition to. There are things you can do to try to slow this stuff down. We did it with Bill C-63, which was originally Bill C-36. These things do exist. I just don't, for me, I feel like that is a method of delay. Because if a government wants to pass a bill, they'll bring it back, they'll tweak it, and they'll find a way to get it through, keeping the things in that they want. That's exactly what's going to happen. But anyway, it's not that I don't want to give people solutions. It's that everybody's solutions may look a little different. Like I said, maybe it's you with your own friend group, maybe it's you getting up and leaving. But I do think having the information, ignorance is the worst position to be in. So if you now know what's going on, you can at least start planning what to do. I can't dictate what everybody should do and how to manage these situations. But if you know your situation, so I believe you should have the wherewithal to sort of put the next pieces together so you can get yourself out of the mess.